It takes 10,000 hours to become great at anything. In the book, The Brain That Changes Itself, it talks about we all, everyone in this room, can take this little finger here and learn to read Braille like have you ever tried to touch those little Braille knobs? Well, the brain can be trained to be so that this finger can be incredibly super sensitive and learn to read Braille. Your brain can be trained to become incredibly great at most anything. But it takes a lot of experience. I wish I knew about the 10,000 hour rule when I struggled for 3.5 years at commission sales before I finally got it. Now, some of you may be wanting to learn some techniques, and that's what you may come for this morning. Whereas I'm teaching you 5 philosophies of great salespeople. So I'll teach you a few. Number 1, when I finally got in front of a corporate sales manager, a corporate president, and the lease is signed, and someone's been summoned to get the check, I developed what I call the shock compliment referral. I would look at the company president and I would say, Van, I just have one problem. You could see the puzzled look on his face. What do you mean one problem? We just signed all the legal documents, someone's going to get the check, and now you're telling me we got a problem? You can see the puzzled look on his face. I would take his business card, lift it up and say, Van, your business card is coming out of my prospect file, and it's going into what I'm sure will be a very happy customer file. The problem is my prospect file is now light. I need some more prospects. And then I would take out 5 cards and I would lay them across the table. Then you know hundreds of very, very successful people. I just want the names of just 5. That's all I want, Van, just 5. Give me the names of 5 people. I never not got 5 names. We were always waiting for the check. So what else am I going to do? I'm going to ask for 5 referrals. So I'd get the name. I didn't care about the phone number. Just give me the name, company name, position, boom. I'd take all 5. But then here's the important part. I then went back to the first one. Let's say it's Joe Schneider. I said, Van, what is it about Joe Schneider that you like or admire? Give me some compliments that I can pass on to Joe Schneider about compliments that I could put on. The way I then use those, this is back in '87 still, the way I used them at that point was, when I'd call up, I would say, to the gatekeeper, Joe Schneider, I have a personal message to pass on to Mr. Schneider. Van told me to call him. So if you would please tell Mr. Schneider that Van told me to call him and I have a personal message to pass on. She would insist what it's about. Just tell Mr. Schneider, Van, I have a personal message from Van to give to Mr. Schneider. She would talk to him, and usually these were always their buddies. But I didn't want to talk to the gatekeeper, but I used that compliment as a personal message. I always got the permission from the person to pass the compliment on. And I still use that compliment approach with everybody. If you're ever being referred to anybody, just stop and ask, if you don't mind my asking, what is it about that person that you like or admire? Okay, let's move on to idea number 5. If idea number 4 was the most important attitude, oh, I didn't finish. Did I finish? No, I didn't. Number 4, the key, most important attitude to becoming great is be humble. Be humble. And you'll be able to take criticism. You'll be able to take suggestions. You'll be able to tape yourself on the phone, tape yourself your presentations, and you will learn more and more than the arrogant know-it-alls. I'm sure we've all come across people who are arrogant and they know it all. They may be somewhat successful, but to be great, the number one attitude to have is be humble. Idea number 5. What is the number one key action step that one should have? In January 1988, after I had that great December and made $22,000 and was at that time, very, very few people were able to make quota. A very small percentage of the salespeople were anywhere close to making quota, and I had made 540% of quota, and they were all individual orders. So in January, Craig Farrell said, would you please do a seminar on time management? I don't know. I just do it. Well, share with the group what your thinking is. All right. I now gave a seminar at the next quarterly meeting on time management. I prepared a handout. And preparing that handout and giving the seminar, I learned more about time management. Because I'd never really thought about it, I just did it. But the fact that I had to really think about it crystallized my thinking. When I worked with Dale Carnegie Training and I trained thousands of people on how to give their demonstration speeches, I was crystallizing my thinking. I was being a coach. So, idea number 5 is there's an old saying, the teacher always learns more than the student. The thoughts that I went through to prepare this keynote for you this morning, the teacher always learns more than the student. Idea number 5. If you're a sales rep, volunteer to teach something at the next sales meeting. Sales managers, have your sales reps teach at the next sales meeting. Have them take the 30 principles in here, one at a time, and ask, how do these principles apply to our sales position? So idea number 5 is a very short one. Teach and you will grow. I have about 2 minutes left. We got to draw for the book. So let's draw for the book, and then I got one very, very short story. Go ahead. If you pick your name, we know it's fixed, right? Susan Bridges. 2 books to choose from: The Brain That Changes Itself and How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I already have that one, so
okay.
I'll take that one. Thank you.
Sophie.
Yes, thank you.
No looking.
Touch of the feet.
Elena.
Oh.
There we go. Idea number 1, love yourself so that you have a charismatic personality and you have the courage to be different. Idea number 2, be forgiving so that you can love all people unconditionally and build a tremendous amount of trust. Idea number 3, anchor yourself to greatness. Idea number 4, the attitude of being humble, and you will learn even more. Idea number 5, teach. A few years ago, my mother was being transferred from a hospital to a long-term care facility. And I remember asking myself, what lessons did I learn from my mother? And there was one that sprung right out at me. It was, every time, first of all, let me stop. You know, so often when people say, you're thanked for doing something, so often people will say, oh, no problem, no problem. Well, when someone says no problem, are they not indirectly implying that if it was a big problem, they might not have done it? My mother, a saying that I heard from my mother thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. It was my pleasure. If a customer ever thanks you, it was my pleasure to serve you. So if you ever catch yourself, if you ever catch yourself saying, no problem, substitute it for, it was my pleasure. Or if appropriately, it was my pleasure to serve you. This morning, it's been my pleasure to serve you. And thank you for coming.